All right, so today I wanted to speak about a video that I saw from Aug Tellez. I haven't seen any videos of Aug Tellez for quite a while. I've been quite busy doing things with a new phase of building houses, sustainable houses, and I was so busy that I haven't done much with that. But I had listened to some of Lavette's work, which is another lady on YouTube, and then today I was kind of relaxing a little bit and decided to look at something, and I found Aug Tellez's video that's called The Exponential CTC Acceleration within the Anisotropic Quantum Field. Well, a lot of great big words there, and understandable, because Aug Tellez is very intelligent, very brilliant, so he has the capacity to speak from a level that most people can't really follow, although you get nuggets through it. So I wanted to compare what he said to my own experience, which is from my perspective, let's say, from the things that I have learned and the insights I've gathered. And it might help some of you to put in context what he's talking about. So to start with, you can either go back and watch Aug Tellez's movie, The Exponential CTC Acceleration within the Anisotropic Quantum Field, or you can watch it afterwards, after you've seen mine, and then it might put some things into a certain context that might be clear and help some people to shed some light on this subject. And this subject is a quite important subject. It really has to do, in my opinion, with what we would call the end of this age, which is the end of this world, right? Because the end of the world, the apocalypse, is really just the end of an age. You know, whoever fell for the 2012, and I'm part of that I for a long time believed in catastrophic things, which still may come. They usually do come with a shift from an age, which is basically, we're going from Pisces to Aquarius, which is, let's say, the universal signature, energy signature of this time. So if you could see this as a simulation, and the designers created the simulation to be in context with all the other factors of energy vibration that dictate or rules, let's say, the universe, or rule the simulation. In that way, it's the physics, if you wish, the actual mechanics of the universe. And every age comes with its own specific vibrational field, and that has different qualities in it, right? So when Aug Tellez is talking about this quantum field, or the exponential acceleration of this quantum field, in the way I see it is like this, right? I wrote down a few things here just to keep it a little bit in order, otherwise I'll just go all over the place, right? So basically, those that are waking up due to the end of the age are furthest ahead or furthest away from the old age. So as we enter into this new age, those who are awakening first were the ones who were furthest into the new age, or furthest out from the old age. So it's just the people at the front, right? And the energy of the new age, this Aquarius age, is the age of air, or the age of truth. Aquarius is the truth bearer. He bears the truth. He pours out the water and reveals the truth. So it's in its exposure time, right? It's the age of, basically it's the age of unveiling, of revelation, of seeing what is, to unhide what's hidden, right? The unveiling, which is to remove the veils and see what is there. So in the old age, this age of Pisces, we were hidden in this emotional stage, the stage where things could be totally not what they are, but seem to be hidden behind that. So we wouldn't be aware somehow of the lies, of the fakeness of the whole system, right? And that's because also this stage of the Pisces, the old age, was the age of the Pisces, which we split emotion, which would be the emotional age and the age of grace. In other words, it's very forgiving age. If you were a liar, a sinner, a criminal, if you do like the old world order would do, cheat, lie, steal, and basically manipulate, grace would forgive you in that age. But this new age is coming up as the age of Aquarius, which is the age of truth. And in this age of truth, it's as you sow, so shall you reap, right? So we're going into that new age of truth, and there everything will be revealed. And so the end of the world, or the apocalypse, is the end of that old age where forgiveness and grace and hidden agendas are no longer, this new age are no longer. It won't allow for those lies, right? So the old world order, as you can see right now, which people call the new world order, is desperately trying to hold on to this old age of Pisces, right? Where they can be forgiven for their sins, for their atrocities, for their criminal behavior, for their selfishness, for all that is so demonic and destructive. And they could hide their deceit in that age, and now they can't anymore, right? This is why they want kind of a full Orwellian type of society, which they call their New World Order, which is basically a society where they can steal, or manipulate and continue what they did in the old age, even though they're in this new Aquarian age, but they would do it through sheer force. They would inhibit anybody from ever standing up, crush those who stand up for truth. So they want a full control grid, right? So how does it have to do with Aug Tellez's quantum field, right? Let me turn this thing on because it's quite cold, quite warm in here. There you go. So how does it have to do with the time field acceleration? Well, in Aug Tellez's video, he explains a bunch of things, right? And one of them is that the quantum essences, we are quantum essences, our spirit energy, our divine essence, right, is a quantum field of vibration, let's say, right? These beings, these light beings that we are, at the essence, not the body, mind, and all these things. Those are just the vessel that we currently inhabit. But the more deeper end of our being, right? They have to keep moving into new possibilities. You see, in this existence of quantum movement, the universe is constantly in motion. I'm not talking about our absolute essence, but in this kind of learning game, the quantum field of our essence has to be moving. And otherwise it goes into dead zones. It's like atrophy, right? When you, let's say you sever a nerve and somebody cannot use its arm anymore, well, the arm over a period, a very short period, will atrophy. All the muscles will deteriorate into this almost anorexic looking, you know, arm that just dangles there, right? It becomes useless. So something that is not used, that it doesn't move, it doesn't grow, that doesn't use its quantum entanglement, its quantum possibilities, its quantum string possibility of reshaping this dream that we live in, would be a useless quantum field, right? So it's very important to understand that principle, that unless you learn constantly as a quantum divine spark, you become redundant to the universe, basically, right? So the other thing is that once you get too far behind in this entire system, then you're also screwed. Let me just check the audio here. Yeah. You're also screwed. Once you get too far behind, it's like two realities. And this is what Aug Tellez is talking about in this video as well. That, let's say these breakaway government, black ops projects types of places, people and organizations, whatever you want to call them, they move hundreds of years or thousands of years ahead with what's really going on in the universe, right? Or at least with a much higher understanding of what's going on in the universe. So, which means that if you're too far behind, you cannot really catch up anymore, right? And that's one of the things that is a really big problem at an age change between the age of Aquarius, or the age of Pisces, and the age of Aquarius, because at an age change, there's kind of like a reset or a realignment that is needed to really be able to participate in the ongoing movement. But just like the people that we try to wake up, friends and family and people that you run into that refuse to wake up, that simply are what I call the NPCs, or the non-playing characters that are just so stuck in their indoctrination that they can't move and learn. They can't even have an argument with you or a discussion with you about 9/11, which is like a baby kindergarten story about waking up, you know. The quantum leap that they have to make is just impossible, right? So the point is, once you start slowing down, it's just impossible to catch up after a certain period, because the gap, it gets way too big. It's like, you know, if you would talk to people now about that we could, or 100 years ago, about an iPhone and what you could do with the iPhone, they would probably think you're crazy. But imagine that 1,000-fold. Imagine you're talking about something, simulations and hyper string dimensional theories and quantum field entanglements and all the things like Aug Tellez as well speaks about in this kind of video. The average human being on this planet who is still in kindergarten at the level of believing in politics and believing in, you know, their doctor and all this nonsense that we've been taught, a total false world of religions, every kind of religion. It's just too big a gap to make, right? Because it could be compared to the speed of light as well. For example, if you have a star that is, let's say, 10 light years away. 10 light years means the amount of distance, the distance that light would travel in 10 human or earthly revolution years, right? So that's an incredible distance. And so if you're looking at a star that is 10 light years away, it means if that star would blow up now, you would not see that star blowing up for another 10 years. So 10 years from now, when you look at that star and suddenly you see it blow up, and you're like, wow, that star just blew up. No, that star blew up 10 years ago. So what you're seeing is the past. It's so slow, the informational travel of light is so dense, so slow, so not of a higher realm, although we call it, science would call it the fastest thing they know. It is so slow that by the time it reaches the eyes from that distance, whatever you want to call that system that we call the outer system, basically that star would have been gone already 10 years. So that's kind of like with this informational gap, right? If somebody falls behind in informational or knowledge level, there's a point where every time somebody catches up on somebody else, then you are so far ahead again that that's still baby talk. I mean, many, many years ago, something like 9/11 and conspiracy theories or whatever you want to call them, right? Where there are, of course, conspiracy facts, but you would talk to people and they were like, what are you talking about, crazy stuff? Right now, some of these people come back sometimes to me and say, well, you know, so many years ago you told me about 9/11, and you know, I think you're right because I saw this documentary, you know? And I'd be like, yeah, you're right, but the only thing is I'm now so far from that position that whatever I'm going to say now will sound to you again like crazy, and more crazy than the 9/11 story was back then, because by the time they catch up, it's like that star that's 10 light years away. By the time you've moved at such an acceleration, and that's why this is also called the exponential growth, right? He's talking about exponential acceleration. By then, you're again too far behind. So we're happening in this very speeded up split for the ones who are not waking up and the ones who are waking up. So once you get too far behind, it's like the slowness of the speed of light, where you have to catching up will be basically impossible. Because that which you catch up to will be exponentially ahead again of that, right? It's just too slow, too far, and always falls back into the past. Therefore, you have to be able to jump time, right? Like bypassing multiple stages of learning at once. And this is the exponential acceleration of the quantum field. Basically, the idea of a quantum leap or a black hole or a time portal or a dimensional portal would be like if you put, you know how they explain it on I think on the video, they say if you want to travel from here to here, that's a certain distance. But if you quantum fold space and time, then you could touch and you're right there instantly. So this is what we call the quantum leap. I want to move from this side of the paper to this side of the paper, but that would be, you know, a certain distance. And since I don't want to make that distance and travel all that way, which takes time, and traveling through space and time, I just fold space and time, and now these points are right next to each other. So to jump time or to jump in space-time, you fold space-time. This is called a quantum leap. You can call it a quantum leap, right? Now, the thing about this quantum leap is this. The reality that you are in, that somebody or a civilization or anything is in at any point, if it's too far behind for the actual reality that you should be in at this time, then that will become a redundant reality that dies off because it's no use. It's not caught up to reality. It's so far down the rabbit hole of stupidity and ignorance and nonsense that the entire society or individual, whether it's a quantum or the micro or the macro field, no longer has a purpose of existence. And so it dies off like an atrophied arm, like I said before, right? So the idea is you have to make a quantum leap because otherwise you never catch up. And that's the thing that we have to do, right? Because what happens is if you're too far behind, the lower computational linear growth mechanism that you use, that we've used over the several, since the 2010 or whenever you woke up and started learning and learning and learning and learning, which is, let's say, 8 or 10 years of waking up. If somebody wants to catch up on that now, they can't do that linearly. And that's because the fuses will blow. It's no difference than electricity. If you put too much electricity through a certain circuit, the circuit will blow. And in this case, we're talking about a mind-body spiritual type of circuit. We're talking about a simulation, mechanism. So the learning curve can't be done that quick unless you use certain quantum tools, or whether you make a quantum leap. Right? Now, the thing about this is that to avoid blowing the fuse, you have to make that quantum leap. And the quantum leap is one of the possibilities that is really created at the end of the Pisces age. In other words, it's the grace period still, you see? Pisces is grace. So the grace period allows for things that otherwise would not be allowed. Grace is like a forgiveness, like an energy field that allows for the impossible. So grace allows, especially at the end of its period, which is ending right now in these next few years. I think they say that basically it's from 2012 to 2024. So, we're about halfway there. So this is still a period where grace can be used to accelerate the learning curve into the next quantum level up by bypassing the steps that go up as a linear learning curve, but you make this quantum field, this quantum jump, where you basically fold time and space and learn. And this is basically based on the bridges that were built by those who come before. It's like a 100 monkey syndrome, right? They say that when you teach 100 monkeys something over on that side of the planet, by the time 100 monkeys have learned to use that tool, say, then across the entire planet, all those similar monkeys of the same race or software program, the same simulation, computational software, will also have learned it. And suddenly they start using those tools all over the planet, right? So the idea is those who have understood the quantum field and the Aquarian age and the new age that we're going into and all these holographic systems, and that this is an illusion and that all this is software and that we're basically being programmed or have been programmed and that everything is indoctrination and all that stuff, you don't really have to use the the learning curve. You don't have to necessarily go through 8 or 10 or 20 years of learning because you don't have that time. Once you fall behind, those individuals that fall behind so far, there's in the grace period only the possibility to make the quantum leaps to get there. Right? That's the only way you don't burn out fuses. And I know a lot of people that burned out fuses in the 2012 stuff, including some of my own family and friends who were in the ride and listened to Alex Jones and all the stuff, and it was way too much. The fuses burned. And they basically went back to a pre-awakened state of trying to pretend that, well, I'm just going to live my life out in a normal way of, traveling and having fun and whatever, right? Making the best of physical thing and not doing any more research because the fuses are blown and the capacity to absorb new information and knowledge and learning from that and evaluating that and recapitulating it and then reapplying it and then learning again and again and again is basically lost because they don't quantum rest, basically. They are incapable of returning into the quantum field of silence, which is true meditation, right? So, so for those who are waking up, or those who are refusing to wake up, basically, whether you wake up linearly or on a quantum field, or decide not to wake up by refusal, basically these people go, like Aug Tellez says, they're like, yeah, I don't hear that, I don't want to hear that, and they move the other way and they continue as though life is just normal. Well, whether you wake up or not wake up, it defines where the individual as you, as the true essence of you, ends up. Because you end up in a dead end if you don't either linearly grow or now make use of the quantum leap to grow quickly if you have stayed behind. So there's kind of like this beautiful grace in that, where you're allowed to catch up for the past years where you refuse to wake up and remain ignorant. So although the signs were blatantly in your face, the corruption, the lies, the falsehoods, the injustice, the untruth, the pedophilia, the corruption at levels of money and all these things, the food industry, the pharmaceutical industry, the educational industry, the government and their control mechanisms and their Orwellian ways of doing these things and the wars and it's so blatantly in your face that you don't have an excuse to say that you continue going to happy hour and being a numbnut, right? So, but grace allows for you to still catch up in a quantum leap method by making jumps. and just bridging these informational learning curves that were linear in one big jump. And that's a beautiful thing to make use of while it's there, because it's only going to be there for several more years, right? So, because in a way you could even say that linear learning is more difficult. It means a constant way of saying every day I will commit certain time to not be involved in the worldly lives of making money and having to partake in that. But I will actually take the free time I have and the cognitive capacity and the space that I have left in my RAM or my cognitive capacity computer terabyte whatever system to actually investigate and learn. Well, most people didn't do that. So then you have to make a quantum leap, which is kind of like a graceful way of skipping the hard work. So it's not even so that the people who refuse to learn in these last few years are screwed. No, in a way they've been given, through grace, the Pisces energetic field of the emotional grace period, an opportunity to jump that tedious, long, linear process. So in a way it could be said that the time jumpers or the quantum field jumpers are kind of having an easy way out. And if people don't use that period, and as a society as well, if we don't use that grace period to jump, make quantum leaps, then again you decide your own fate as a lost end, dead end, a die-off string of this dimensional phase that basically then the dimension has stopped growing, has basically not used any of the opportunities it had to keep growing, and so it must die off. And that's the end of a civilization or the end of an individual consciousness, because it stopped learning in the quantum field. It stopped evolving and going into new dreams and new dream building, right? Building new universes. So the leaping allows for a maximum correction alignment with the new age, a forgiving, right? A real forgiving period, a period of grace and forgiveness. Beyond that window of opportunity or energy vibration of grace lies the age of truth, Aquarius. So beyond this age of Pisces, where grace is still allowed and things were hidden, lies the period of Aquarius, the bearer of truth. And in that age, truth reigns. And truth is just unforgiving. It says basically, as you sow, so shall you reap. As you do, so shall you get the consequences of that. No grace, no getting away with it, no pardoning, just you sow a poisonous plant, you get to eat that poisonous plant, because that's all you planted. So in the period, in the next 2,000 years of Aquarius, truth reigns. And we're going through the stage right now. Basically, you could say, I made a little scale, but let's say they're 2,000 years old, 2,000 year periods, right? And then you have this small leap of a lap over. It's like an overlap. So you have 2,000 years of, let's say here, 2,000 years of Pisces, and then you got 2,000 years of Aquarius, but they overlap with a period of let's say 12 years, right? Something like that, just to give a model, right? And it started in 2012 and it ends in 2024. So in 2018, which is this year, we're at the middle of the crossover. We're literally in the middle of the crossover. So this is where the strongest grace is still allowed to make quantum leaps, because by 2024 we would have gone out of Pisces altogether and we're fully in Aquarius, and that's when it will ramp up towards truth. It will take 1,000 years, let's say, to get to the truth, the strongest of Aquarius that Aquarius ever get, before it starts building off down again into the lap over into the next age, right? But this is the lap, the overlap. So we go from 2,000 years of Pisces into a small period of 2012 to 2024. It's a crossover period. In that crossover period, quantum leaping is allowed through grace at a level that's unfathomable. And so we have to use that quantum leap period. So, because otherwise, the leapings are no longer possible. You just get what you have sown. You just harvest what you planted. That's the age of Aquarius. So you better make use of this period, right? And because in this new age of Aquarius, it's truth, and truth kills. Truth just is as clean as you could say a samurai justice system. Like, that's how it is. You did this, boom, karma, right? You do that, boom, karma. You will not be forgiven because it's not the age of grace. That's why the old world order would like to introduce a new world order, which is an Orwellian order, which will stop anything, but they can't. They can't stop it. But they want to stop the Aquarian energy vibrational essence, the quality of that energy field of the Aquarian age. They want to stop it from taking away their unjust control mechanism systems, right? So, and they will fail because they can't do it. That's why you're seeing a lot of things already unraveling with all the pedophilia in the churches and all the things and all the lies and all the corruption and all the banking systems and all the nonsense, right? So truth is lethal. It's not forgiving like grace. Truth is lethal. It kills, right? So make use of this period of grace before it ends, right? In a nutshell, the exponential acceleration within the aneotropic quantum field is a period where the old age, the age of Pisces, is coming to an end. This is the apocalypse, the end of the world, which is the end of this age, the age of Pisces, which is the forgiving, graceful age where things are hidden. Now this new age, the age of Aquarium, is entering. This is the real new age, not the fake new age movement with all the nonsense and malas and people doing yoga with goats and beers and machine guns and that kind of nonsense. But the people who are actually willing to move into truth. Aquarius, truth. Who are willing to move out of the veiled lies of the emotional state of water, right? Of Pisces, into the age of air, of truth, right? And for those who haven't undergone this acceleration period to a linear process of learning and evolving and waking up, what we call, a quantum, or not quantum, but let's say linear learning, linear waking up, you have this graceful period at the end of this age shift over that allows for exponential acceleration by quantum leaping. And unless that is used, the humans or the beings or the civilization at a macro level that does not use that period to move on will be redundant. And then your chances of having moved on to the next level of the schooling will be over. No different than in high school or anything. There's a certain point you can do only, you can do your high school, but if you fail your 10th grade 3 times in a row, basically you can't do it anymore. It's just over. You just screwed up every single time. Every opportunity you got, whether it was linear learning or quantum leaping, if you don't make use of that period, the civilization or the individual dies off. That's the end. So either linearly do it, and if you can't do it linearly because it's too big of a leap, then fine. Then use the quantum leaping, because otherwise you could burn your fuses if you do it linearly and try to stuff too much information in. You can't do that because our processing system of these human body type systems are quite retarded actually. So it doesn't learn quick through that field. It has to learn through this quantum leaping. So basically, the end of the world, or the end of this age, means we're going into a new energetic essence, a new energetic quality. This is the quality of truth, and that which was hidden will be exposed. That which is false will be shown to be false. That which is not real will collapse, will crumble, will die, will disappear, will just leave this system. The false structures will crumble. They are crumbling as we speak. You either stand with truth and move on into the next age, or you die with the old stage. You die in the old world order. You die in the age that will be forgotten. And for those who want to hold on to the system desperately because they think they have some selfish gain, that they have some power, which is really force, over a certain age, those are the black magicians. The magicians that will try to use everything they can to forcefully go against the energetic vibrational level of the universe itself, which is moving in a holographic way to the redesign or dictate the movement of this holographic system. Now, I'm saying that the entire system at the end is false. So I'm not saying this is some kind of higher truth at a level, but it's just a mechanistical explanation of the energetic field that dominates a certain time frame, in which the qualities of that time frame are represented by the embodiment of the vibrational field that it inhabits, or that it instills, or that it essentially has. And so mechanistically, I'm just describing the changeover, and whether you go with it into truth or you try to stribble back and try to stay with the old world order, which is the stupidity, ignorance, lies, and the hidden nonsense that it entails. So I'd say make use of the spears of grace before it ends. And those who are far behind can still do it. Because the quantum leaping is a beautiful, mechanistical, divine justice type of grace system that allows for those who are so far behind to still make it. So you don't have an excuse if you're too far behind. Nobody has an excuse. But once truth enters, the sword will come down, because it's the sword of truth.